Have you been diagnosed with ADHD or anything in the autism spectrum or neurodivergent spectrum as a female? My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is autistic female rare birds. Heather Feather is doing a second video talk. If you follow the YouTube channel where you can subscribe, I just did a video on autistic rare birds. I'm doing a series on what I think it means to be a rare bird. I think it's rare in the modern age for you to be a romantic that is monogamous, and I've done a talk on that, the romantic rare bird, and I just did a talk on the autistic rare bird. But there's a different type of rare bird called the female autistic rare bird, which is distinct from a male autistic rare bird, and I just kind of wanted to flush this up a bit. It's estimated that 1% of the population has autism, and it's estimated that of that 1%, an even smaller percent of the 1% is female. However, although there have always been beings of all gender identifications that have had autism throughout the history of time, it's a tricky thing because historically there has been more finance and funding going towards studying males with autism, just the nature of the beast there. And so the reason I wanted to talk about females with autism is it's possible that you may work with a female with autism. It's possible that you may be attracted to a female with autism. There are many ways in life, even though it's 1 in 100 people, that you may engage as you move through your life with one of these 1 in 100 people, and you might not quite understand exactly what it is they're doing. So it's important to note that females with autism tend to be much higher masking. Masking is where a neurodivergent person puts forth all of the effort to behave in neurotypical ways so that they can fit into a job, so that they can fit into a society, so that they can fit into social situations. You may understand that it's not always helpful to aggressively deliver the truth to people, and you may learn over time as somebody with neurodivergence that humanity doesn't like that, and that you need to, either be quiet or keep it to yourself, or they may find ways as a neurodivergent human that they mask their innate nature to want to share the truth with humanity, whether male or female. However, females tend to be much higher masking. And I do think it does have a lot to do with cultural conditioning. Females are to be sugar and spice and everything nice. You're supposed to be polite. You're supposed to be kind. You're supposed to be helpful. You're supposed to be a little helper. You know what I mean? You're supposed to get in here and make a little snack. And you're supposed to be doing things that make the home feel like a home. And we don't have as much cultural conditioning around males being the little helper and being sugar and spice and everything nice. Boys will be boys. They can just do whatever they want. You know what I mean? And so there are roles that neurodivergent people learn over time. Heather's had 5 decades of receiving what is considered normative behavior and awareness of when Heather Feather was not offering it. And so I am very adept at masking. I can go to a party and I can behave as a neurotypical person. I know what is expected of me. I know how to behave. I often do not behave socially normative. When I was a student at the School of Metaphysics, they taught us to read our lesson out loud so that we receive it with our ears and we receive it with our eyes, and it goes deeper. And so since that time, in my 20s, when I was a student and teacher at the School of Metaphysics, Heather tends to read things out loud, and it's not the most socially popular choice always, you know what I mean? But at the same time, when I'm in a cafe reading my lesson that I'm writing out loud so that I can hear it and see it and receive it and make sure that I am being mindful of all these pieces of this data I'm trying to share and that I am sharing the truth, somebody can come and sit with a friend and sit and have a loud conversation right next to me. So just because it's not socially normal for me to be talking to myself in a cafe, doesn't mean I want to constantly mask at all times every single day. And so just because I can go to a party and behave as neurotypical doesn't mean that it isn't exhausting to constantly follow socially normative expectations of what it is I'm supposed to behave like. And as I get older, I become a little bit less tolerant of doing it. I'm more inclined to, if you ask me my opinion, to share with you my truthful opinion. I have a lot of love and a lot of compassion, and I never want to be hurtful. And I have a lot of empathy and emotional intelligence because my special interest is spirituality, and I've developed it also is EQ and emotional intelligence and agape and all these different things. And so I've developed the ability to be attentive when I say something abrasively truthful, which Heather does often, that it didn't feel good and didn't land well on you. And I think a lot about how to say things in ways that are delivered with different matrices of beings. I've really researched and studied with my 5 decades how to be received as somebody that thinks differently. And a lot of it has been just not sharing, suppressing, hiding, containing what it is I would prefer to say. And so I often am just saying the thing that is socially normative. I'm just masking and keeping everything comfortable, you know what I mean, until I get around a neurodivergent human. And even then, sometimes, I just made a new neurodivergent friend. She's a lovely soul. But I was very direct. When people start talking to me about feminism and misogyny, I immediately will talk to them about misandry. Really? Do you hate men and boys? Because feminism is about equality of the sexes, and all I've heard you talk about is women. And so you can sometimes be so abrasive with the truth, and I was too abrasive with her. And so I have to really watch that, because I think the truth is a gift. And my new friend was neurodivergent as well, but neurodivergents can often have very sensitive systems because you tend to get sensory overload. And one of the things a neurodivergent person tends to do is what's called stimming. It's where you might have some way you do something to just kind of move energy as you are having to operate and perform in a neurotypical world. Since only 1 in 100 people are neurodivergent, you're usually trying to navigate the world, navigate a job. Heather Feather rubs her fingers down by her side, you know, and I've done that forever. Some women might squeeze their toes inside of their shoe. Women tend to mask their stimming in greater ways than men, and so they're harder to diagnose. Women also tend to have a wide range of interest, so it can be harder to diagnose them. If you have ADHD, no matter what your gender identification is, you are part of the neurodivergent family. You are on the neurodivergent spectrum. I don't have ADHD. I have hyper-focus disorder. You know, like when I start focusing on a special interest, as loud and overwhelming as the world is, my brain is able to go into hyper-focus. And I've had jobs where I've been a kitchen manager. I've been a leader in different ways. I've been assistant director of a Greenpeace office. And when I'm in leadership positions, even as a working with bakers, I had to tell them, like, hey, you need to like really get my attention if a pie's on fire. You know what I mean? Because I'm operating in a different realm, and I need to make sure like I'm in my body, present, able to address what's going on, because my brain works a little different. Neurodivergent people often are kind of divergent on the sexual spectrum. They may be more open to various genders in their sexual interactions. They tend to be deeply trusting. It's taken me 5 decades to recognize that not everything necessarily warrants my trust. I often am like, I need an adult. I need like a neurotypical mate that can be like, that person's trying to manipulate you. You know what I mean? Because I'm like so trusting. You wouldn't believe. I've had homeless people live with me more than once. I just do things like I don't understand. Like I would never manipulate or try to take advantage of someone. I'm not trying to get anything from anyone. So even though for 5 decades I've had all kinds of people try to manipulate and get things from me, I'm just like, oh, they're just confused, or they just forgot they're made out of love, you know? And so sometimes I do need an adult. I need a neurotypical to be like, no, don't do that. Do not do that. They tend to not flirt in the same way. So if you have some woman at work that you're trying to flirt with, and she seems really weird, or somebody you like, and you can't quite get a read on her, she seems hot and cold, it's probably because she has no clue you're trying to flirt with her. A neurodivergent person usually needs you to say, I am attracted to you. Would you like to go out sometime? You know what I mean? Unless you say that to me, I am never assuming you're attracted to me. It's not because I have low self-esteem or feel unattractive. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It depends on who's looking at me as to whether or not they find me attractive. But I do find different things attractive than physical form. I find kindness deeply attractive, and I tend to watch for that character content, humbleness, kindness in a person, before I'm really looking at their flesh sack to see what it has to offer, you know? So they tend to not understand dating and all these normative things. Do you like someone that's being a little weird? Maybe they are an autistic lady. You can always YouTube that to understand it better. Go to railroadmedicine.com and click on the classes link if you're autistic and would like to take a class by an autistic female. I'm one.